Hello everyone. So today I'm going to explain how we are going to integrate any Spring Boot APIs with the Angular frontend. So for example, if we take example nowadays, whenever we are going to develop any kind of the enterprise applications or any applications which is basically front end and the back end is involved. So front end means like Angular or maybe React or anything like any JS kind of framework that we are going to build or implement. Then basically we need to connect with the from front end to the back end, right? So today I'm going to explain like how we are going to create any applications, like just basic one example. I will create, like for example, maybe we'll gonna create one login example. So in case of the login, like there is a two things. Like one is the we need to provide the username and password fields in the login form, and once you click on the submit button, then it will check that particular login is valid or not, or maybe it will directly call one Spring Boot API. From there it will return, give us something like success or maybe false or something else. Based on the success result, we can say like, yeah, you are means login is success. Now we can move into the another page. Now it is basically, so I will try to demonstrate in a very simple way so that you guys can understand like how the integration can happening, or what are the basically approach we need to take to do those. For example, like if we are going to implement this login implementation with the Angular and the Spring Boot, so first of all we need to create one long Angular applications and also the one backend applications. So from the backend applications, basically it is responsible to give us the response. For example, do login one API we need to create. Maybe it's the post request, which is taking one request like login request, for example, and it's having a username and password. So then based on the request parameter, we'll based on the request from the Spring Boot API, we will do validate from our databases if those username is exist into our database and the password is also correct. Then you can say like, yes, the username is valid, you can proceed. So based on that, like we can proceed further. So the thing is that first of all we need to create one Angular applications, and then we can create one login page for that. And once means we need to then like call the particular Spring Boot API, and from the Spring backend applications we need to create the APIs so that we can connect with those. So if we, without further delay, we can like start like how we are going to. So I've created one Angular project, you guys can already like how to create the Angular project. There's a Angular is a command, and before that also, like you guys need to like install something for support this one. Like first of all, uh, we need to install the npm node version. So node currently version is, if I check it correctly, node version is currently, let me check. If we check the ng version, so it will give us the details like Angular CLI. You can see the Angular CLI version is 16, node version is 18.7, package manager is 9.8.1. And so these are the things that basically you need to install before creating any Angular project. Okay, so this is the thing that you need to like follow before starting uh, any create any applications using the Angular. So this is the very basic thing. These are the need for means node you need to install so that it will you guys can create the Angular project. As once the node and all those Angular CL and npm and all those things are installation is done, then you can create the project. Okay, so once we project, then I have imported the particular project over here. So it will be look like something this. So these are the like app module, app component. So these are the things, these are the generated. Now what actually I'm going to do, so basically I'm going to create one component called login. So that I'm going to create. So how we are going to create any component? So the for component creation is there is a one command in Angular like ng, then generate, then component. So what is the name of the component? For example, login. So what it will do, it will create the component for us. Okay, so let's see, it will generate all the things. One component if we create, so it will having the four types of things. One is the CSS file, and then you can see there's a HTML file, a spec file, TypeScript file, and the CSS file. HTML, that is basically render into the browser. the spec file, it is basically for used for like if we are going to write some kind of the test cases, unit test cases, then basically it will use to do so. Then TypeScript files, basically here we are going to write the logic, business logic, and this module ts updated because this is basically added over here, app module.ts. Let me open this one. Here you can check this is already imported over here because we need to add this over here in the declaration. And these are the other module that are basically needed, so that's why I have imported over here. This HTTP client module is basically used to connectivity perspective, like as we are going to uh, like used in a kind of means what we can say, means we need to going to connect the Spring Boot project, Spring Boot API. So for that connectivity like get, post, put, delete APIs we need to call. So for that basically this module is needed. Okay. So this is the briefly explanation of this app.module.ts. Okay. And this is the thing app component.ts, and this routing is basically responsible to like when we are going to it's defining the path basically in the path of the constant, like any in the browser whenever application is run, say we are going to navigate through some path, right? So it means instead of means if it is empty, or means if we need to some path, for example, let me like provide some path over here. Like for example, if it is a empty, if it is empty, that means initial load, then where it will go? So it will go basically login component, means it will load this login component. Okay, so this is the thing in the login component. Basically if we see, this is a ts file and this is the HTML file, so that means it will show the login works. So if we run the applications, let me run the application. So this is the like command for running the applications, ng sub. So either open or ng sub hyphen o, either this or opan. So this both two actually command is basically used to work. So now if we run this one, it will take some time. Okay, what it is saying. Okay, let me check with this one. Okay, it's building this one. Okay, for the open actually you need to use the double hyphen, so that's why it was not working. So if we want to just O, then it's a single. If it is okay, it's a compiled successfully. You can see it's login works. Okay, this login works here. Right. Here we have defined the login works in the login page. Now, instead of this particular text, basically, what we are going to do, we are going to put some HTML over here so that the login page looks like something like, right? So here basically we are going to put some login things over here. So we can like put some detail over here. For example, like a div class. Okay, let me use this one. Okay, so this is the page that we have defined. Okay, now basically we need to use some kind of the CSS because I have used this wrap login container, else the form will not looks okay. So if we run this one, then okay, we need to use this component. Okay, so we need to define this method actually on submit in a TypeScript file over here. Okay, so let me define those things first. So here, as you can see, like it's doesn't have anything. First of all, we need to implements on it. Okay. So if like ng on it is over there, then we need to uh, use some ng on it constructor over here. Okay, that's fine. Now basically we need to use the on submit method over here, something like that. Okay, so this basically method is basically used to when actually this login form is loaded, then once you click on the submit, then this page basically actually load. Okay. Okay. Now here as we are using the like form builder, so that form actually builder actually basically we need to use it over here. So how we are going to use this let me login form group. Okay, that we need to define. Then we need to create one request, but that will we can define later on. And we need to create one constructor, and over here we need to define the form group and all. MySQL is loading. Okay, private the form builder. You can also use the router one, but that is not used currently, but it will be used in later phase. Okay, so here basically we can put some kind of like validation. This dot login form equals to this dot builder dot group. From here basically we can get the uh, like uh, uh, we can get the form value details, so that actually basically we can get from over here. Okay, so here we have used the email, so here we can put something what it will do, and here we can say validators dot requires because it's a required field, and then what kind of validators it is a email validator. Okay, so these are the default implementation that we are going to use over here. And for the password, again we need to use some validator for this, like validators dot it's again required, and then validator dot, for example we can say kind of minimum length dot min length is, for example, 4. Okay, so these are the validation that we can use over here. Okay, so let me save this one. Compiled successfully. Now if you check in the browser, you can see these are the like page, right? If I not provided anything, then it's showing the red. Now if we put some CSS over here, so then it is looks okay actually. If I click this, so nothing is happened basically, so we need to put some CSS over there. So let me add some CSS. Here we need to use some CSS over here, so I've added the CSS. Now you can see it looks fine, right? Okay, even also we can use some kind of validation like this. Like if this is any error, then it will say this message email is required. If it is not valid actually, then it will say the invalid email format. Same for the password also. Like if it is means we have not provided any kind of values over there, then it will say password is required. If we can say if we have provided the minimum length, so as you can see over here in the component file, we have provided the minimum length is 4. So if we try with the 3, then it will say there should be at least 4 character. So let me show you. Like if we say this one, then it is invalid email format. If we have not provided anything, the email is required. Same for this. If we have not provided any password, then it will say password is required. If it is a two provided, then at least 4 character long. So this kind of validations also you can easily like put over here. So this is the like beauty of this one, and here this is the submit button. So once this form will submit, then basically on submit it will call this on submit method over here, this method on submit. So we need to like basically we need to call the any methods from over here, like from the ng on submit, so that it will call with the like any Spring Boot APIs, and based on that it will like check the data that those are valid or not, and based on that it will do some works. Okay, so let me now write the service file, which is basically uh, talk with the Spring Boot APIs. Okay, as we can understand, we need to create one service for doing some talking with the external services. So we need to create actually here, like maybe it's a get call or maybe it's a post call. So whatever the call it is, so based on that basically we need to create one service layer. So for that the thing is that there is a command for creating the service. So as we are creating the component comment was like ng, then g, then component, and then component name. Similar kind of we need to ng, then G, then service like S as a command, and where we are going to create this one, like we need to provide the path. For example, we need to create the service under this one. Okay, so under the service actually it's a login service. Okay, so then basically it will create the service. So let me create this one. So it will do the things for us, like what it will create the service class, as you can see over here, login.service.ts, and the spec file. This spec file basically it is used to write the test cases for this one, like whatever the code we have written under this ts file here. So those we can like easily cover using this spec file. We need to create the test cases for those. Okay, so what basically we are going to do over here, like we are going to use the inject first the HTTP client. So how we are going to inject those one, like this HTTP, then here we are going to use the HTTP client. Okay, so this is the first we need to inject this one, so that like we can use those things, and then uh, we can first of all also we need to define the URL. So for example, login URL we need to define. Maybe we can use it over here, or maybe we can create one constant file, and over there we can also use the keep those URL over here. So login URL it will be a string, and then like we need to provide. So for example, we need to provide the path HTTP, then slash, it will be a local host. For example, the port we need to define in which port the application is running, then the actually API. So yeah, then do login, for example. This is the API name. So this is basically a post API. So for the post, basically we need to create one like request, right? Because in a post the data is taken in a request body, so we need to create one request. So for that we need to create one request over here. So how we are going to create this one? So for example, we can create one folder over here, like new folder, like underscore classes, and here we can create one new file, like login hyphen request dot ts file. Okay, so that we can create, and here basically what we can do over here, like we can say export class login request. Okay, and here basically we can provide the two parameters, like one is the email, like it's a string, and then it's a username, right? It will be all again a string. So either we can, for example, we can say as a undefined or quick fix add undefined. Okay, so that is the class creation is done now. Now over here in this TypeScript file in the service layer, actually we are going to call the login. So for example, do login. So here it will, what parameter it will take? It will take like request, and it will be a login request. Login request. Okay. Okay. Typo over here. Okay. And here basically once we'll get the response, so we need to provide over here one observable, and it will take what kind of parameter? Any. And for calling the APIs, we need to pass the headers, and here we need to pass the content type, like what kind of the content type. So it will be a JSON, right? So content type will be a JSON type content, and then we need to use the body, and also like we can log this particular body over here, so we can use this as a body over here. Okay, now we need to over here we need to call the API return like this dot http dot, what kind of method it is? It is a post method. Okay, and here basically we are going to pass the URL, so like this dot login URL, and then we need to pass the body. Okay, and after that we need to pass the headers. Here headers, and then we need to pass the headers. Okay, okay, what it is? No overloaded matches for this call. Okay, there is one typo that is causing issues. This is the typo, that is thing we need to use. And here we need to use the previous one, like this and then this. Okay, so now this is done. So that means the service layer is done now. So what basically we can do over here, like from the login.component ts, so like once the submit is done, then basically we are going to call this method. So that means here basically we are going to use something like this dot login form dot valid. If it is valid, that means all the things like email and the password, if those things are valid, so we need to put some if over here, and then if those are valid, then we can like use the, first of all we need to set the request data over here. So request, here we need to use some request, right? So how we are going to use the request, like request equals to login request. We need to create this DTO first, and then we need to use this one, like request dot email equals to this dot login form dot email. Okay, similar. Okay, it will be an email value dot email. Okay, in similar fashion, like this dot request dot password dot username. Okay, it will be basically a password, so we need to use the password login form dot value dot password. Okay, it will be a value, and this request we need to like instead of username it will be a password. Okay, now here ts file password. Okay, so this is done now. It will be a new login request. Sorry, request equals to new login request. We don't need to pass the constructor over here. Okay, so this is done now. Okay, so that means once the submit will click, then we can check the form is valid or not. So once the form is valid, then we can set the data in this request. Now we need to call the method. So for calling the method, we need to call the service, right? Login service. So that's why we need to append the login service over here. Login service. Okay, and here basically we are going to use this one, like this dot login service dot do login, right? And here basically do login is taking this login this request, right? So here basically we need to pass this request. Okay, we need to use this dot request. So that means this is done now. Okay, so once this is done, then obviously we can get some response from the service, right? So how we are going to do so? Like here basically we need to uh, what we can say, like we need to take the response from the service. So that's why we need to use the subscribe over here, and here basically we need to use this response, and then here we need to log like what is the response we are getting. Response, and then we can like from here we can like router dot navigate, means if it is success. So I'm not putting that condition right now, just I'm checking like if this things is working or not. So once this is done, then we can navigate from here any other page. Like if it is success, then we need to navigate to any other pages. So for that, so like I have used the one router over here. You can see this is the router that I was saying that is not currently used, but here basically it will used. So we can check the response from the after the login. So if it is success or failed, that condition we can use over here, then we can like navigate over here. So for example, after if it is successfully, then we can maybe landed into the dashboard. Okay, so for that we have just provided over here, but we need to create one dashboard component over here. Okay, so how we are going to create the component? As you can know, like this dashboard login, we need to create the dashboard. Okay, so let me create this dashboard, and once this component creation is done, then you can see in the app module.ts it will imported this one dashboard component, and app in the route file in the app routing, where it is this routing, here basically we need to provide the path, like how we are navigating over here. So if the path is dashboard basically, then we need to landed into the dashboard. Okay, so here we can define another path. Okay, if it is a dashboard, then we can we need to use the component. And what kind of component it will be? It will be a dashboard component. Okay, so we need to write something in the inside of the dashboard components. In the HTML we can say landed into dashboard, landed into dashboard. Okay, so that means once it is success from over here, we can get the successfully response from over here, like we are getting some response. If it is not error, then we can say like we can navigate to the dashboard. Okay, so basically this is about this, like how we are going to routing, how the login is works, so all those things. So now if we run this one, ng serve hyphen open, so it will start the applications, and then basically we can check. Then basically what the next step is to, we need to create another one Spring Boot applications, which is basically responsible to do the validations, like do the login kind of things, and give us the response return back. So for integrating with the Spring Boot API, I've already created one like Spring Boot app, which is Angular integrations API. So for that, I have taken the dependencies Spring Web, because like as we are going to use some controller, then Spring Boot starter data JPA, and then MySQL connector, because as a database I am going to use the MySQL, because I have create some users over there, and then basically do the things. Then Spring Boot starter test and all those things over here. So in the controller, basically what we are going to do over here, basically it will from over here we need to, like it will call the do login service from the Angular API, right? From here, as you can see over here, it will call the do login API from the UI, so which is having this login request. So based on that, it will actually means it will call. So here basically we can create one API public, uh, maybe return type is the string, and then for example do login, and it will post mapping is post mapping, and here basically we need to provide the path like slash do login. Okay, and it will take the request body as login request. So here basically we are going to use this one, do request body, and then maybe just we can put some request over here, like what is the request, so like that, something like that, and then return, for example, success. Okay, okay, so now if we start this application, so it will come over here, and it will give us a success. So let me start this application, and it will start in a 880 port. If you can see, in 880 port actually it will start default, and we have provided the microservice MySQL database details over here, and as well as the Hibernate details. So currently actually I'm not like taking means not doing the validation from the databases, only just returning the success, so that like we can check the this particular API is calling successfully or not. In the later phase, in my later sessions, I will cover those things, like how we are going to validate those things, right? So that means it is started here. So now if we call this one, like then it will call the APIs, right? So now if we call this one, so as you can see, it will called over here DTO. Okay, so the DTO, because it is not printing, I need to do something over here, like I need to use the to string. Okay, so if we save this one, it will restart again. I need to clear out the console. This is done. Now if I like rerun it again, still it's getting 200. I need to check like means okay, it's blocked because due to the course policy, so that's why it's not able to things. But the request is coming over here, as you can see the request is coming over, but due to the course it is not supporting. So that I'll like do the things for this one. So as you can see the username and password is coming, right? So username is null, so I need to like check over here, like why this username is come, because it's a email, correct? So instead of email, basically I need to use the username. Okay, and in the component, login component, instead of email it will be a username. Okay, it is successful. Now if we see .com and then this, and now username password is coming, but is still getting the course, so that I will solve. But here now we can get the username, right? So for solving the course, so here basically we can use as the request is coming from the outside, so we need to provide the course origin. So it is coming from where, like localhost 404200, so http localhost, so that basically we are allowing for this particular service, right? 4200. So now if I, it will start soon, means it will not take much time. Okay, now if I run this one, so now course is solved, but we are getting some other issues, like if we checked over here, means we are getting 200 now, but let me just check again. We are getting 200, but it is not able to parse, actually it is getting something different, as we are returning the text only string, so that's why it's not able to like support over here. So that's why we need to use some kind of response type properties over here, so that it will do proper means it will parse the JSON. That's why it's getting the issues. So let me put something over here. Okay, we need to add this response type as text, something like this. Now let me rebuild it again. Okay, now if we try over here, like now you can see landed into the dashboard, and also you're getting the response success. Okay, previously what happened, actually it's actually you're getting the response as text, so that's why it's not able to parse over here. That's why it causing the issues. So now as we provided the response type as text, so that's why it's able to parse. Because sometimes what happened, from the over here we need some kind of response as a kind of response, like for example login response, which is having some kind of lots of informations. But currently for demo perspective, I'm not going in such depth level. Means gradually I'll go into the depth level, like how we're going to do those things. And from the here also I can get the inner log over here, right? So that means what we have done over here, we have created one simple applications, Angular applications. Here we have created one simple form, login form. And once we click on the submit form, then we can interact with the backend applications, and from there we can get the response, and accordingly we are redirected to the dashboard. So that's all for now. Actually, in my next tutorial I will like after the login, maybe I will create some things over here, so that like maybe we can put something kind of so that customer or can shopping over here, so that we can put some shopping cart kind of thing. So I'll try to put some more detail over here, like how this thing is working or not. Means thing is worked over here. So for the time being, just try to cover like how we're going to integrate very simplicity, trying to keep very simplicity. If you guys have anything, please do let me know. Any doubts, please do let me know in the doubt section, comment section. So I will definitely try to cover those things. Thanks for watching, and also please subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.